Let's discuss now how we can combine complex numbers. So let's first start with addition and subtraction of complex numbers. So if I wanted to do something like 2 minus 3i plus, let's say, 5 minus 7i, and let's do another example alongside, which is subtraction. Let's say 2 minus 3i minus 2 minus 3i minus 5 minus 7i. In the first case, we just combine the real parts and the imaginary parts. So this would be equal to 2 plus 5, those are the real parts, plus negative 3 minus 7i, those are the imaginary parts. And we get 7 for the real part, minus 10i for the imaginary part. Now to do the subtraction, we'll do something almost exactly the same, except first we'll have to take this negative and distribute it. So we'll rewrite this as 2 minus 3i plus negative 5 plus 7i. Then I'll do exactly what I did with the addition. I'll go ahead and combine the real and imaginary parts. So this would be 2 plus negative 5 plus negative 3 plus 7i. And so I'm left with negative 3 plus 4i. Let's do one more example. So what if I had 2 plus I plus I? Well, in this case, the imaginary part of the second complex number is 1, but the real part is just 0. So this would be equal to 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1i, which would be 2 plus 2i. Now that we've done addition and subtraction, let's talk about multiplication. And let's start with multiplying a complex number, such as 2 minus 3i, by a real number, 4. In order to do this, we'll simply distribute this real number to the complex number. So this will give me 8 minus 12i. Now when you have a complex number times a complex number, so something like 4 minus 2i times 2 minus 3i, then we'll go ahead and distribute using the very popular acronym FOIL. And we'll also use the property, as we'll see in a moment, that I squared is negative 1 to simplify. So we'll start with the first. The first terms are 4 times 2. The outside terms, that's going to be 4 times 3i with a negative, so I'll bring that negative out front. Then we have negative 2i times 2, and then we have negative 2i times negative 3i. Now these negative times a negative will give me a positive, so plus 2i times 3i. Let's simplify a bit, so we get 8 minus 12i minus 4i, and then on the last term I get 6 times I squared, so plus 6i squared. Now remember the definition of I is equal to the square root of negative 1. So then that means that I squared would have to be the square root of negative 1 times the square root of negative 1. And when you do the square root of the same number multiplied together, you get negative 1. So I squared is negative 1, so this will be 8 minus 12i minus 4i minus 6. And now I can combine this 8 and minus 6 to get 8 minus 6 is 2, and I can combine negative 12i minus 4i, that's going to give me minus 16i.